Guess what? Not chicken butt.
Before the marathon officially starts, Sonic CD is going to be its own separate video away from the classic era because I want to review its movie alongside it. So for those who know, please look forward to it, and yeah, enjoy the video. The first time I played Sonic 1 was in the classic Sonic collection on the DS. The game suffered heavily from screen crunch, and I'm also focused on Sonic the Hedgehog 2 in that collection. So besides the fabled Green Hill, I'm gonna be going in completely blind in regards to every other level in the game. The lovely Green Hill Zone. It's such a breath of fresh air to see the stage, since obviously we haven't seen this stage over 3 times in the last 5 years. In all seriousness though, you can see why the stage is so popular. It incorporates the game design of classic Sonic excellently. The top half of the stage promotes speed, but it's only if you're good enough at the game, while the bottom part, however, punishes players who mess up with slower and trickier platforming. Honestly, that's what classic Sonic is all about. Speed through momentum is something the player earns by playing their best. This is before the dash pads and springs were plastered everywhere in the stage to give the player the illusion of gameplay, which is more an issue focused on the later entries in the series. The stages in this game are broken into 3 acts, and I feel like every level overstays its welcome after 2 acts. Seeing the same design 3 times in a row can be very tiring to players, or at least it was for me. I'm glad later games dropped it down to 2 acts because especially towards the end of the game, you get really burnt out. The music for Green Hill is nice too. It's been remade and remixed multiple times, but that's for a good reason. The design of the stage is eye candy as well. The checkered pattern floor, the greenery, the waterfalls in the background really add to the stage's memorability. And that's really important because honestly, the problem with some of these stages in classic Sonic is how quick they are to leave your brain. I honestly have a lot of trouble trying to remember past zones, especially after finishing this game in particular. But to end it off, Green Hill Zone is an amazing opening to this game. It's fast, pretty, and overall an enjoyable stage. This game falls off so fucking hard. I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't understand what happened in between the makings of Green Hill and the transition to this stage, but it did not go well at all. These games are meant to be speed runs, and when you see speed runs of this stage specifically, people just use a glitch to skip to the end of the acts. This level just has so much waiting. You have to wait for the blocks to move across the lava pool. You have to wait for the spike chandeliers to come down so you can jump on them. It ditches the Green Hill Zone playstyle that you're accustomed to. Even if you're good, you can't escape the lava pools. If I'm at Heaven's Gate and they give me a trade offer of entering Heaven, but I need to clear this stage, I'd rather enter Eternal Damnation. I won't lie to you, the conversations held in the 9th Circle blunt rotation will be glorious. The stage presentation looks good, however. I just wish the gameplay lived up to it. The idea of Sonic running through ruins has been done multiple times before, and this stage is most likely what triggered it. The song for the stage is nice as well. I find it a bit creepy because of the Needle Mouse creepypasta. Only the beginning part is what creeps me out, but everything else sounds pretty good. I don't really have anything else to say about the stage, I just wish it's promoted the high quality gameplay shown in Green Hill Zone. Spring Yard Zone is pretty forgettable. The only memorable aspect of this stage is that it inspired the pinball mechanics later seen in other Sonic stages like Casino Night Zone. The color palette here is striking with its mix of browns, greens, and purples, and gaining speed in this level isn't as hard as Marble Zone. I think quite fondly of this stage. The song here is really good too. Honestly, I would put it above Green Hill. But that's pretty much all I have to say about the stage. The underwater level. This stage wasn't as good as Spring Yard, but not as bad as Marble Zone. This zone introduced the fun fact that Sonic can't swim. If you look up what kids from the 90s gained their fear of water from, you'll most likely look up the stage and its drowning theme. This is easily my least favorite track so far. This stage is pretty slow with the water physics making Sonic slower by default, and gaining speed here can be such a chore. The music can genuinely get grating to the ears after a couple of minutes, and having to deal with it with 3 acts alone made me feel like I was genuinely going insane. The drowning theme is literally the most memorable thing that came out of this level. I do remember being stuck on this level longer than I should have, but if you couldn't tell by the background footage, I'm not the greatest player in this era. I put this one above Spring Yard Zone. The way you gain speed is easier than the last couple of levels, and the music here is pretty good too. The only thing is that the music doesn't really match the level. It feels like you would hear this from a song in a carnival-like stage. Maybe it's just me though. My memory is kind of failing me here, so I don't know what else to say. The stage looks alright for what it is. Not much style you can put into a factory. Wait, never mind, they've done factories before, so I guess there really is some type of style you can add to it. The final stage before we reach Robotnik. This stage is almost good. Before we reach Act 3, however, let's talk about how it starts. It's a pretty okay stage with moderate difficulty. I don't like the zigzag level design though. This isn't an actual term, so I'll explain what it is. Zigzag level design is where your character has to go back and forth from left to right across the screen in order to progress. It really kills the pacing for me and slows the game down a bunch. Honestly, I feel like that's my main issue with the game. Speed isn't really enforced in this game like the sequels afterwards. I won't give it too much help because hey, the game seems to be ending off well. You gotta be fucking kidding me. So apparently Labyrinth Zone was so good they gave it a sequel. I don't get it. I don't understand why they did this. Scrap Brain Zone could have been enough without adding this last segment. Then we move on to Final Zone. This really isn't a stage, it's just a boss fight room. You start with 0 rings, a trend that sadly follows into the next game, and face off against Robotnik one last time. I didn't grab any Chaos Emeralds by the way. I'm not really good at these special stages, so I didn't care for any extra endings or super forms. After a few short hits, we take Robotnik down and even knock him out of his pod. After that, Sonic makes his dash towards Green Hill with the saved critters and jumps towards the screen, ending Sonic the Hedgehog 1. For the first entry in the series, I'd say it's pretty good. Even though it might sound like I've been overly critical so far of this game, I enjoyed my time nonetheless, and it was quite fun trying to see what made Sonic good in the first place. Even though I'm not really the best at these games, it was fun to listen to some old music, reminisce on what made Sonic good, seeing the old sprite work. This is a good game through and through. Was it my favorite Sonic game? No, not really, but it's because Sonic has way better games moving forward, so it's not really a bad thing. So far, I think I enjoyed my time with this game, and would I recommend it? Not really, because I'd rather you play the games coming afterwards, since it's much more refined, and you can see that Sega finally understood how Sonic was meant to be played. But this is part 1 of the marathon, and, stay tuned for the next parts.